Content warning. The following video contains material that may be harmful or traumatizing to some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Broken clock on the back wall, counting down till the last bell rings. You lock the door with a plastic smile, say this is just our little secret thing. Ink stains on my test paper, your hand leaning where it shouldn't be. You twist the rules like a gold ring, say it's love, say it's meant to be. Leave the kids alone. They call you ma'am, they call you sir. You use that power, strip us to the bone. Female face, male face, same crime, same cold eyes. When the door clicked shut, courtroom shrug, they were almost grown. Light little sentence, deep little cut. Leave the kids alone. You're not a savior, you're a thief from home. Predator in school clothes. Life in a cage is a place you go. See ya, show more. See ya, show more. Need justice, not a wish, but sorry, go. Judge with a tired handshake, gable falls like it's half awake. You get years, we can count on hands. We get scars, we can't understand. Names on a list, they move you towns. Paper walls, you still prowl around. Kids in rows like loaded guns. You pull the trigger, then you run. Leave the kids alone. You're not a savior, you're a thief from home. Predator in school clothes. Life in a cage is a place you go. See ya, show more. See ya, show more. We need justice, not a wish, but sorry, go. Leave the kids alone. Leave the kids alone. Leave the kids alone.
This is 47-year-old Gary Stephen Daniel, a registered sex offender. He entered guilty pleas in 2 cases involving child sexual abuse material. But when Daniel was out on bail when the second crime occurred, so you know. Daniel's history of child sexual abuse material offenses dates back to 2015, when he was first convicted of possessing the material in Missouri. He was later convicted of the same offense in Ventura County in 2019. Because of his prior conviction, Daniel was sentenced to 6 years in state prison in the 2019 case. After his release, investigators arrested Daniel in 24 for a new child sexual abuse material offense. During that investigation, Daniel attempted to avoid detection by storing the CSAM in a cloud-based account and accessing it through a burner phone. Investigators tracked those accounts and found gigabytes of child sexual abuse material. Daniel then posted a $50,000 bail and was awaiting trial when he was arrested, oh you got it, again. From October through December of 25, The District Attorney's Child Exploitation and Human Trafficking Unit received 4 more cyber tip reports from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children involving Daniel. Investigators executed another search warrant at Daniel Oxner's home, where he was arrested. Daniel pleaded guilty to 3 felony counts of possession and control of child sexual abuse material. Well, he now remains in custody, and his bail went up to $500,000. His sentencing is scheduled for February 17th. See ya, Chomo.
A Black River Falls man is charged with 35 counts related to child pornography and bestiality. January 7th, after executing a search warrant. Investigators say he shared and received child pornography on online platforms, including images of children as young as 3 years old. He could receive up to 25 years in prison and $100,000 in fines. His next court appearance is February 16th.
A Columbia County man was accused of child molestation. The sheriff's office says 18-year-old Urban Alford was arrested Monday from a 2019 incident when Alford was 12 and the alleged victim was 8. Reports say the alleged assault happened multiple times between 2019 and 2021. Alford has been charged with aggravated child molestation.
We're hearing the 911 call that led to this chaotic scene last month in Flagler County. A registered sex offender was found with a child he is accused of kidnapping. I'm News 6's Mark Lehman, and this video shows just how dangerous the situation was, leading to the arrest of Darnell Hairston. And we're learning the arrest may not have happened if it wasn't for a caller who recognized the suspect and called the cops.
591, where's the location of your emergency?
Yes, ma'am. There's a child pedophile with 2 kids in his truck.
A 911 caller warning Flagler deputies about the truck seen on this dash camera video from New Year's Eve. We're now learning that call was made because the man recognized the driver behind the wheel as 60-year-old Darnell Hairston.
And how do you know this person?
He's our neighborhood child pedophile, and there's 2 missing kids that's run away from out there.
Deputies say Hairston had 2 boys, a 15-year-old and an 11-year-old inside the truck. The younger boy told deputies he had been kidnapped, tied up, and drugged. The 911 caller saying he was determined to see Hairston caught.
You don't have to continue following.
Oh, no, I'm following until I see a cop pull his over, because he's got 2 kids in his car. Because if a cop don't pull him over, I'm going to pull him over, and it ain't going to be pretty.
This caller did a phenomenal job. He saw something, knew it wasn't right, called us. He followed him until we could get deputies.
While deputies were busy with Hairston during the traffic stop, the 15-year-old jumped back into the truck. Investigators say he led deputies on a chase, ramming a patrol car before crashing.
Signal 4, signal 4, signal 4.
Sheriff's office, let me see it! Let me see it! Right out!
Hairston is now facing several charges, including kidnapping and aggravated child abuse. The 15-year-old is also facing battery on law enforcement charges. Meanwhile, we're told the 11-year-old boy is safe. Mark Lehman, News 6.
A new arrest report reveals disturbing details after a local teacher allegedly confessed to touching one of his own students, telling authorities he had a crush on him. News 3's James King joins us now with that report after also speaking with parents of students at the charter school.
That arrest report giving us shocking new details into the arrest of Innovations International Charter School teacher Francisco Misaron. Now, talking with parents outside of the school Monday afternoon, many of them had no idea this happened where their children learn.
Are you serious? Are you freaking serious?
That was one parent's reaction when it was us that broke the news to them that a teacher at their child's school had been arrested. In a newly obtained arrest report, we're learning more about the arrest of Francisco Misajon, a teacher at Innovations International Charter School. In the report, the alleged victim, a young student at the school, says their teacher asked if they needed help with their work. After saying yes, the student went to the back of the classroom and sat next to Misajon at his desk. The student says that's when Misajon rubbed his hand on the student's thigh and then touched the student's private parts with his hand. According to the arrest report, Misajon admitted to the officer that he grabbed the victim's private parts because he wanted to know if he was a, quote, grown man and thought the student was cute.
You know, my kids in that class, why aren't they reaching out?
why has it been this many days?
One parent we spoke to says Misahone called their child a star student in the class, but said that they were not made aware of what happened by the school. After seeing us at the school Monday afternoon, they said they checked their mailbox and found a letter a week after Misahone was arrested.
I live 6 houses away and nobody's told us anything. And my child has not been wanting to come to school. It's scary. I noticed the change. I'm not saying anything because I don't know anything yet.
He tells News 3 that just before speaking with us, his attempt to talk with someone at the school about it was met with no answer.
And even now, you see me go to the school right now and I'm getting no information, nothing. I left my phone number, I left the contact information, and I can't bring my kid to school till I know what's going on. There's just no way.
And he wasn't alone in not knowing. Another parent we spoke to who has 4 children at the school says it was us that broke the news to her.
We need to know these things because we have students here. I'm a mother of 6. I'm angry. Because my thing is, you guys are not watching these teachers like y'all should anyway. You never know what's going on, what they can be doing to these kids in the bathroom, the closets, the lunchrooms, anything.
I feel violated in the sense that nobody's telling me anything. You know, and I see it on the news. I see the news out here. My kid's in the class. He's like the star student, according to him. So why not reach out to us? We pick them up every single day.
In that report, Misahone also admitted to touching another student's thigh in the past. He's being charged with lewdness with a child under the age of 14. Now, we also reached out to Innovations for comment on this arrest or when or how parents were alerted of the arrest, but we have yet to hear back. Reporting in the newsroom, James King for News 3.
In that same arrest report, police say Misahone was given paper to write a letter to the alleged victim. And that letter reads, quote, "I am very sorry for what I've done to you. I really didn't mean it. You were such an amazing boy. I regret what I have done with you. I'm so sorry. I hope you will forgive. I sincerely apologize." Metro Police also asking anyone who may have been a victim or has information about the case to contact the Sexual Assault Detail or Crime Stoppers if you wish to remain anonymous. We have information about that within the story on news3lv.com.
A Limestone County man will spend 15 years in prison for child sexual exploitation crimes. After his time served, Clayton Sawyer Jr. of Athens will be supervised for the rest of his life. Court records show Sawyer pleaded guilty in December of possession of child pornography. Investigators recovered a phone with child sex abuse material on it, which is a violation from his previous conviction. At the time, Sawyer was already serving a life term of supervision for similar crimes.
We're going to go way up to Etowah County, Alaska. Logan Thomas Williams was sentenced to life imprisonment on Thursday after being convicted of multiple charges, including rape and sodomy, involving a child under 12, according to the Etowah County District Attorney's Office. Judge Cody Robinson handed down the sentence, citing the nature and severity of the offenses as justification for the harsh penalty. Williams was found guilty by a jury after the victim, who was 9 years old when the abuse began, testified about the recurring sexual abuse that lasted over 2 years. Judge Robinson offered the life sentence for each count of first-degree rape and sodomy, along with a 20-year sentence for sexual abuse of a child under 12, all to be served consecutively, which means under Alaska law, Williams is ineligible for probation or any early release programs due to the nature of his crimes. In his closing arguments, the judge emphasized the importance of protecting children, stating, "I hope that the court, by issuing this sentence, demonstrates that those who prey on and abuse children in Etowah County will be punished to the maximum extent allowed by the law." See ya, Chomo.
A Limestone County man will spend 15 years in prison for child sexual exploitation crimes. After his time served, Clayton Sawyer Jr. of Athens will be supervised for the rest of his life. Court records show Sawyer pleaded guilty in December of possession of child pornography. Investigators recovered a phone with child sex abuse material on it, which is a violation from his previous conviction. At the time, Sawyer was already serving a life term of supervision for similar crimes.
And a Beaufort County man is facing several indecent liberty charges involving a child. Beaufort County deputies arrested William Armstrong yesterday. According to court warrants, Armstrong had indecent liberties with a 14-year-old girl in July of 2025. The 62-year-old man has been charged with 5 counts of indecent liberties with a minor. He was taken to the Beaufort County Jail under a $250,000.
News, a Boone County church leader admits he spent years sexually abusing a teenager who was a member of the congregation.
And today, Michael Howard was sentenced to more than a decade in prison. He addressed the court today, quoting Bible verses before the sentencing. WLWT News 5's Brian Hamrick was in the courtroom and is live with this story for us. Hey, Brian.
Yeah, Chris, well, it was a packed courtroom. Michael Howard was quoting the Bible, talking about Jesus at the same hearing where he was being sentenced for sexually abusing a teenage boy.
I've prayed that the Lord would give me the words to say.
It began in this Florence church and ended with a conviction. This one.
We trusted this individual with one of our most precious treasures, our child.
Was in a courtroom. Michael Howard, the former church leader, arrived in handcuffs after pleading guilty to dozens of counts of sexually abusing a teenage boy.
All of my sins, past, present, future, all of them were covered by the blood that day of Jesus Christ. All of them. These two.
There were admissions, claims of remorse, but no apology to the victim, and a statement that at times sounded more like a sermon than an appeal to the court.
The Bible also says that God chastises those he loves.
As Howard's wife addressed the court, he appeared emotional, but the family of the victim had their say too.
Little did we realize Michael was exploiting his authority as a boss and as a church leader to manipulate us and gain access to our son.
He used the cover of the church, the pulpit, and the piano to hide his crimes.
The victim's family said Howard used their friendship in Florence Baptist Temple to get access to the teen for 5 years. And then the victim spoke.
He is most known for his ability to play piano. Michael was a talented guy with plenty of accomplishments. Now, out of all of his accomplishments, this is what he will be most known and remembered for. He accomplished to throw everything away by manipulating and tricking a 14-year-old boy for sex.
As Howard heads to prison for 15 years,
God bless you.
The victim deals with the aftermath of things hidden behind the doors of a church. Yeah, now Judge J.R. Strand sentenced Howard to 15 years in prison as part of that agreement. He'll have to serve at least 85% of that per Kentucky law. He's also sentenced to register as a sex offender for life. Reporting live, Brian Hemrick, WLWT News 5.
All right, Brian, thank you so much for that story there.
R.J. May was once a state representative. He now holds the title of a convicted sex offender, child sex offender. Today, the court decided that this child predator will spend 210 months in prison. I believe that roughly equates to 6,300 days. That'll be followed by lifetime registry as well as 20 years of supervised release. He betrayed the public trust. You heard a lot about that in the courtroom. Lawmakers hold positions of public trust. He was elected to make a difference in our community, sworn to uphold the laws in our land. Instead, he represents the worst of us. As a representative, he introduced legislation to protect kids, but in reality, he was exploiting them. You heard great detail in the courtroom today. His conduct was egregious. You heard these numbers, but I'm going to give them to you again. In a 5-day period, sent sex abuse videos 479 times. Sent material to other folks in 18 states, 6 countries, and I believe Elliot said 3 continents. Targeted the most vulnerable, toddlers. Toddlers being sexually assaulted, crying in pain. Specifically requesting bad mom, bad dad types of materials. And parents who should be protecting their children. This sentence, this prosecution, this investigation clearly underscores that nobody No one is above the law. And everybody behind me certainly hopes that the message is clear. We don't care if you're a lawmaker, a judge, police chief, firefighter. If you exploit children, we're going to prosecute you in federal court.
Pennsylvania. A Blawnox man was sentenced to 20 years in prison in connection with the sexual exploitation of a minor. This is 60-year-old James W. Muir, and he pleaded guilty Tuesday in federal court to charges of sexual exploitation of a minor, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office of the Western District of Pennsylvania. Prior to his arrest, Muir had worked as an assistant softball coach for the Fox Chapel Area School District and Penn State, New Kensington. According to authorities, Muir induced a minor to engage in sex acts in October 22 and recorded and took pictures of the conduct. Muir then sent the child sexual abuse material to another person through text message. Muir also faces separate child sexual assault charges that remain pending in Allegheny County Court. In August of 24, the Allegheny County Police filed 26 charges against Muir in connection with an alleged sexual assault of a teenager. Police accused Muir of sexually abusing a teenager in 22 and taking him to hotels in Hamar and Fraser for sex. Judge Kathy Bassoon sentenced Muir to 20 years to be followed by a lifetime of supervised release.
Well, tonight, a Cobb County police officer is now charged with sexual battery against a child. The GBI says it started investigating child abuse accusations against 47-year-old Whitman Benjamin back in September. He was arrested on Friday, and investigators say that this child was under the age of 16.
Chad Muse from Normal has been sentenced to 34 years in prison for his guilty pleas to a half-dozen child pornography charges. Muse must serve at least half of the sentence. He initially faced 41 felony counts after Normal police arrested him in 2023. The McLean County State's Attorney's Office dismissed 35 of those charges after Muse's guilty pleas. Police said they started investigating him in August of 2022 based on information obtained by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
State police have arrested and charged a 26-year-old Saginaw man for child porn. State police say they started investigating Luke Young when they discovered he was sharing photos online. He turned himself in after digital evidence was taken from his home. According to the Michigan Department of Corrections, Young has worked for them since 2021 and most recently worked in St. Louis at the Central Michigan Correctional Facility. Young is charged with 2 counts of aggravated possession of child sexually abusive material and 2 counts of using a computer to commit a crime.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Liz Kidantis. Tonight, a disturbing child abuse investigation spanning nearly a dozen states. St. Lucie County detectives say 3 children were sexually and physically abused across state lines. The suspect now behind bars at the St. Lucie County Jail. That's where CBS 12 News reporter Jamilka Gibson joins us tonight with details on this case. Jamilka?
That 40-year-old suspect is behind bars here tonight, looking at a $1.7 million bond. Detectives say they interviewed several victims and witnesses and believe this case might not be over yet. A child abuse investigation that began in St. Lucie County, stretching across the country. At the center of it all, 40-year-old Terry Farmer, who's now behind bars, charged with multiple counts of sexual battery and child abuse involving children under 12. The St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office posting on Facebook that it all started when deputies responded to a home in the northern part of the county back in December to assist the Department of Children and Families with an investigation. Detectives say what they uncovered was ongoing sexual and physical abuse of 3 children, happening not just in Florida, but across many states, including Colorado, California, Oklahoma, and even Minnesota. Kat Dusterhouse is a sexual assault survivor. She says spotting abuse isn't always the same.
People should be looking for any sudden behavior changes, signs of fear or withdrawal, and isolation from certain people. These are all potential warning signs.
Although it might be scary, Dusterhouse encourages victims to come forward, no matter how long it takes.
When survivors get justice, it's not just for our individual cases, it's also prevention, because we know that unfortunately many times perpetrators will go on to perpetrate multiple cases.
Bills like Donna's Law has removed the statute of limitations for prosecuting sexual battery against minors. Dusterhouse says more should also be done for adults.
But we still have to make that a reality for adult survivors too. And it would be great to have some kind of a retroactive window so that survivors can come forward and get justice who have been denied justice for so many years, myself included.
If you or someone you know is a victim of sexual violence, visit our website for a list of resources for help. As for Farmer, he's facing a long list of charges. Now, if you know anything related to this case or have a similar one to report involving Farmer, call the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office. Reporting in Fort Pierce, Jamocha Gibson, CBS 12 News.
Also new tonight, 51 counts of child pornography charges against a Louisa County man have been dropped.
Court documents say even though police found files on Curtis Canny's phone, that evidence would not be admissible at trial. Court records show officials had taken Canny's phone while executing a search warrant for his stepson, Coltrane Sipes. Police later obtained a warrant to search the phone. In October of last year, attorneys for Canny filed a motion to suppress. Canny claimed the initial search violated his Fourth Amendment rights. In December, the court ruled to dismiss the case.
Sipes, who the initial investigation was for, was a substitute teacher at Columbus Junction High School. Investigators say his phone was found containing videos and photos of a female student in and outside of school. Sipes pleaded guilty to stalking a person under the age of 18. He was sentenced to 90 days in jail with credit for time served, along with restitution. He's now on probation with the Department of Corrections for 2 years.
This is Paul Mumford. He was sentenced to 111 years in prison after being convicted earlier this year of 100 counts of possession of child sexual abuse material. Mumford worked for the Tampa Police Department from 1986 to 2015 when he retired as a sergeant. And he returned shortly after as a reserve officer. A tip in 2021 led investigators to search Mumford's devices. And then in 22, they also searched his home and found that more than 100 images of child sexual abuse material on his devices. There are at least 162 identified exploited children that were located in the images on his device, said a prosecutor with the 13th Judicial Circuit. At the time of his arrest, the IPD confirmed that Mumford worked at the department's sex crimes unit. Yeah, coincidental, huh, Chomo? The state also pointed out to the fact there was other evidence that revealed during Mumford's trial that he was a Chomo. Yep. See ya, Chomo. Or maybe we won't see ya. Good thing.
Well, to developing news now, a 55-year-old man was arrested after he sexually abused a child last month at an El Paso home. This is all according to court documents obtained by KTSM. Carlos Duran is charged with indecency with a child by contact and aggravated sexual assault of a child. Records say a 13-year-old girl reported that Duran had touched her private area and performed oral sex on the victim. Documents say the child told officials that the abuse happened while she was at home doing homework. Now the victim told a staff member from her school what happened, and that employee reported the incident to police.
Thank you, Destiny. A man has been sentenced to life in prison for sex crimes against children in Etowah County. Logan Williams was convicted on charges of sodomy, rape, sexual abuse of a child less than 12 years old. A statement from the district attorney's office says that the victim testified during Williams' trial that the abuse lasted for more than 2 years. The judge said that he hopes this sentence demonstrates that people who prey on children will be punished as harshly as the law allows.
Good Wednesday afternoon to you. I'm Andy Banker.
And I'm Jasmine Huda. First on Fox 2 News at 4. A recently retired employee at the St. Charles County Ambulance District is facing accusations of possessing child pornography.
He's the former director of facilities, and he's currently jailed with no bond.
Fox News' Chad Mira here with the new details. Chad, this is a disturbing case. How did investigators find out about this?
Yeah, it actually came through a cyber tip line when Google identified just a single file that was believed to be child pornography. Now investigators going through electronic folders, they say they've found a whole lot more. Law enforcement say they've uncovered thousands of files of child abuse material after searching a home on this Moscow Mills street.
Computers, cell phones, and anything that it might contain digital evidence.
Despite the large amount of suspicious files, Craig McFessel is facing 3 counts of possession of child pornography. Lincoln County Prosecutor Mike Woods said more charges are coming, but he wanted to file the case as soon as possible.
When we have these types of cases, we'll have files that are readily and easily available to us that are identified so that we can go ahead and get the court process going. Then he's held in custody on a no bond.
The probable cause statement says McFessel's online accounts were linked to about 10,000 files of child sexual abuse material, including images of a magazine cover promoting materials involving a 12 and an 8-year-old. Fox 2 has learned McFessel retired in August as the facilities director for the St. Charles County Ambulance District. The cyber tip line report came in after McFessel had retired. But prosecutors believe McFessel potentially used his professional email address to move some of the materials.
How far it goes back, we'll have to see what our investigators tell us, but they'll have ways to be able to determine.
The ambulance district says McFessel started working there in 1994, but that his role did not involve contact with patients. Ambulance District Chief Skip Stevens sent us a statement saying in part, quote, "The district will cooperate by any means necessary with any investigation into the matter." An FBI task force has been helping with the investigation. Although the charges are now filed in Lincoln County, the prosecutor says it could potentially end up in federal court. In studio, Chad Mira, Fox 2 News.
Chad, thank you.
Bus driver charged with kidnapping. Grafton police say he deviated from his normal bus routes with young children on board and then blocked the security cameras. And police say they could hear one of the students crying before the cameras cut out.
Now, the school bus driver was fired, but as Brandon Truitt found out, parents in Grafton have a lot of questions about what happened on that school bus.
Well, police say as they were investigating one incident, they discovered another one that happened just days before. In both cases, he's accused of pulling down a road and parking the bus, a road police claim wasn't on his route.
A school bus driver facing kidnapping charges, accused of going rogue on his route and misleading authorities. Police say 54-year-old Reddy Gase of Worcester worked with a transportation company contracted with Grafton Public Schools. Police say a parent sounded the alarm just 2 days before Christmas after her nonverbal 5-year-old son was dropped off a half hour late. The transportation company tried reviewing the bus's cameras, but police say the interior school bus camera was not operational and the front-facing camera was covered. The bus's GPS tracking system was working, and authorities claim it showed Gase pull down Abbey Road. It's a half-developed cul-de-sac where he parked for more than 20 minutes. Police say there is audio of that 5-year-old boy crying, but the sound goes out 10 minutes after the bus was turned off.
We are in shock and kind of disturbed with the news.
Neighbors who live around Abbey Road are deeply concerned as police learned it not only happened to one student, but 2. Authorities discovered another incident while combing through weeks of GPS data, alleging Gase took a 3-year-old girl down Abbey Road a few days earlier for no explained or legitimate reason. Evidence suggested Gase first tampered with the bus cameras weeks prior.
It's really traumatic to hear. I hope the kids are doing well and the families also.
In a letter to parents, Grafton superintendent wrote that he spoke with the impacted families directly, adding, "We take the matter extremely seriously and remain committed to the safety and well-being of every student entrusted to our care."
The transportation company tells us that Gase passed all of his background checks when he was hired, but no longer works for that company. He faced a judge Wednesday on 5 charges, 2 of them for kidnapping, and was held on a $50,000 bond. In Grafton, Brandon Truitt, WBZ News.
Fonda man has been arrested. This happened yesterday. Child rape charges. Stephen Gardner, accused of sexually assaulting a child younger than the age of 11 several times between January of 2021 and June of last year at a residence in Johnstown. He's being charged now with a number of different sex crimes and being held at the Fulton County Jail without bail.
Nelson County, Kentucky. A Nelson County woman has been sentenced on child sexual exploitation offenses. According to a release by the United States Attorney's Office, Western District of Kentucky, 27-year-old Kathleen Flenner was sentenced on Monday to 20 years in federal prison. Flenner was sentenced on 2 counts of sexual exploitation of a child and 1 count of distribution of child sexual abuse material, according to that release. Following her term in prison, the release states that Flenner will be under 30 years of supervised release. And in addition, the release states Flenner has been ordered to pay $6,000 in restitution, with $3,000 going to each victim. Flenner used an online social media app to distribute 2 sexually explicit images of minor victims to an adult male living in Australia, according to the release. And of course, there is no parole in the federal system. See ya, Chomette.
A former Rutherford band director has been found guilty of having a relationship with a former student.
Lindsay Stewart was arrested in January 2024 on multiple charges. News Channel 7's Rachel Flynn was inside the courtroom and breaks down the jury's verdict.
On Thursday, the jury found Lindsay Stewart guilty of sexual battery. The 14-year-old victim was in the courtroom and gave her testimony.
You heard the testimony from Mr. Stewart today. Essentially, his argument is that this is fantasy, the sexual stuff is fantasy, it didn't happen. That's the defense. And these letters are extremely important, but they're not the end of the story.
Stewart was the band director at Rutherford High School when he began a relationship with a 14-year-old student that lasted a year and a half. The victim's mother says she found 29 pages of love letters from Stewart confessing his love for her daughter and detailing events that included sexual intimacy.
If you can find anything in this that talks about future hopes, plans, I'd be surprised. We went through it. It's all about what happened in the past.
Stewart also took to the stand to defend his love letters written to the victim.
If you're writing about things that didn't happen, you might also get out of order.
The 14-year-old victim and multiple family members took to the stand. The jury returned to the courtroom after deliberating for about an hour to read the verdict.
The defendant is guilty as charged of engaging in an act that constitutes sexual battery upon or with a child 12 years of age or older, but younger than 18 years of age, by a person in a familiar or custodial authority.
Stewart will be back in court for his sentencing on February 16th. In Bay County, Rachel Flynn, News Channel 7.
And we'll keep you updated on Stewart's sentencing that is scheduled for next month.
Meantime, a Gainesville man will serve the rest of his life in prison for sexually battering 2 children. The investigation into Mir Asil began in 2021 when detectives confirmed multiple incidents of inappropriate sexual contact at his home in northwest Gainesville following forensic interviews with the victims. He was arrested in November of that year and then found guilty of sexual assault and lewd and lascivious behavior. Today, 66-year-old Asil was sentenced to life in prison.
Well, this just into the newsroom. A Huntsville man is behind bars after a SWAT team raid at his home on Creeley Drive this morning. Aaron Sims, who you see on your screen, is facing 4 counts of possession with the intent to disseminate child pornography. A Huntsville police spokesperson says the investigation into Sims started with a tip from the National Center for Missing or Exploited Children. He says investigators found more evidence at Sims' home that still needs to be examined, adding that more charges are possible.
A Wakulla County man is arrested after law enforcement says he drove hours to meet with a minor. Richard Lynn Simmons Jr. is charged with using his phone and internet to entice an 11-year-old to have sex. Court records say an undercover FBI agent in Jacksonville was talking to Simmons. The FBI says Simmons described the specific acts he wanted to perform on the child and made several calls and messages about his travel plans to meet. He was arrested by FBI agents when he drove to Jacksonville. If convicted, Simmons faces a minimum of 10 years in prison.
Back in Acadiana, a Lafayette man was arrested after being accused of having over 100 pieces of child pornography. 25-year-old Jace Leger is charged with 112 counts of possession of child abuse materials. He was booked into the Lafayette Parish Jail on a $50,000 bond. Authorities say this investigation remains ongoing.
A Porterville man was sentenced to life in prison Wednesday for multiple sex crimes involving a child. This is 37-year-old Erwin McDermott. He was sentenced after pleading no contest in December of last year to charges in 2 separate cases. He was also sentenced in additional felony charges. In one case, investigators with the Tulare County Sheriff's Office began probing allegations back in September of 2018 after a then 14-year-old victim reported years of sexual abuse by McDermott that began when she was just 7 years old. Prosecutors said that McDermott pled no contest to 1 felony count of sexual intercourse with a child under 10 and 1 felony count of forcible rape of a child 14 years old or younger. Under current California sentencing laws, McDermott must serve at least 25 years in prison before being eligible for parole and is required to register as a sex offender for the rest of his life. See ya, Chomo. Hope you meet Bubba.
A new lawsuit has been filed against a former youth pastor in Bentonville Church alleging negligence in actions relating to child sex abuse sex crimes. Keenan Horde was a former youth pastor at First Baptist Church in Bentonville. He was convicted of 13 counts of sexual assault 3 years ago and is now serving a 60-year prison term. Well, the lawsuit claims he was given, quote, unfettered access to minors during his time as pastor, and the church should have known and reported it. More details can be found on our website at 5newsonline.com.
A Heber Springs man is sentenced to 15 years in federal prison for attempted distribution of child pornography. Charles David Agnew was indicted on attempted enticement of a minor, attempted distribution of child pornography, possession of child pornography charges. Agnew is previously convicted of crimes involving children. This comes after Agnew asked an undercover law enforcement officer online to send him nude photos of 2 girls ages 7 and
County. Michael Hoffman.
40-year-old Terry Lee Farmer is facing 11 charges. Investigators say stemming from the repeated physical and sexual abuse of 3 children. It's an arrest Sheriff Richard Del Toro calls horrific.
The investigation started in December of 2025, beginning as a complaint to the Department of Children and Family Services that was passed on to the Sheriff's Office.
During that response, deputies determined that 3 minor children were victims of ongoing physical and sexual abuse. Due to the seriousness and scope of the allegations, the case was immediately transferred to our Criminal Investigations Division.
After multiple hours-long interviews with the victims, investigators began to understand the scope of the situation.
The investigation revealed numerous incidents of sexual and physical abuse involving the same suspect, and the detectives determined that the abuse did not occur in a single location but spanned multiple states.
Investigators say 40-year-old Terry Lee Farmer, a homeless man living in his car with his family, abused 3 children ranging in age from 5 to 18 in 8 different states: Colorado, Oklahoma, California, Minnesota, Oregon, Illinois, Tennessee, and multiple Florida jurisdictions.
And we're not staying in silos, we're working together. Locally, we're coordinating with the Okeechobee County Sheriff's Office, Fort Myers Police Department, and the Fort Pierce Police Department here in St. Lucie County.
After compiling their evidence, investigators made their arrest on Tuesday, charging Farmer with 11 different criminal charges, including 8 counts of sexual battery on a child under 12.
But because these offenses span multiple states, there may be additional victims or witnesses who have not yet come forward. So we want to encourage anyone who may have information related to this case or any similar incidents involving this suspect to contact us.
Farmer, behind bars, held on a more than $1.7 million bond. In St. Lucie County, Michael Hoffman.
And now to Fort Wayne, Indiana. A 36-year-old Fort Wayne man was sentenced Thursday after taking a plea deal for ditching his ankle monitor. Bad chomo. Corey Wilkline pleaded guilty to 2 sex crimes in 2020 and was sentenced to 10 years in prison, followed by 5 years on probation for plea agreement. That agreement called for 2 child molesting charges against him to be dismissed. Well, last month, Wickline pleaded guilty to failure to register as a sex offender, as well as felony escape. In exchange for that plea, he was sentenced to 4 years in prison. That agreement also requires him to pay the clerk of the courts in Allen County there about $2,000 for extraditing him from Oklahoma. Another slap on the wrist. Wow.
Breaking into our newsroom tonight, we are learning more about a Smith County, Virginia man charged with several felonies following allegations of child sexual abuse that authorities say happened in 2007 and 2008. News Channel 11's Ansley Daniel breaks down new documents released about the case. Ansley?
Yeah, Casey, what initially started as an investigation into the breakup of a homeless encampment back in October of last year ended with an investigation into sexual abuse claims against Robert Nolan Wolf, who runs a warming shelter. We told you back in October that an encampment along the Marion River Walk was being dispersed. As part of that initial investigation, the special grand jury uncovered more than what they initially set out to. The special grand jury met 4 different times and heard from more than 30 witnesses that had what they call compelling, consistent, and profoundly disturbing testimony and evidence before charges were brought against Wolf. The report says that Wolf operates Antioch Greater Love Ministries. Wolf told News Channel 11 at the time that he was offering resources to those who were displaced. Throughout the course of the investigation into the encampment, evidence was revealed that showed those and residents of this so-called warming shelter were solicited for, quote, conduct by Wolf. That group was also shown evidence, though, that almost 19 years ago, when Wolf was a substitute teacher for Smith County schools, that he identified, groomed, and sexually abused multiple minor boys. The report says the conduct was not isolated or accidental, but, quote, reflected a predatory misuse of institutional access and community trust. Now, Wolf is charged with 2 counts of abduction of a minor, 2 counts of indecent liberties with a child, 3 counts of carnal knowledge, and 2 counts of forcible sodomy. Those camping near the Marion River Walk were not charged and left their campsites. However, the special grand jury did suggest that the Department of Social Services and county and town leaders create a committee to assess and evaluate the needs of those experiencing homelessness. The group also recommended the Department of Social Services and Child Protective Services provide educational resources on sexual exploitation and grooming to school counselors on a yearly basis.
Turning now to a South Florida man who is accused of possessing child pornography. It's a case against Raul Ricardo de la Rosa Guerra that it dates back to May of 2024. That's when the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children got a cyber tip about an email address that was used to upload child pornography. Now, the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office, they recently executed a search warrant and it found several images of children engaging in sex acts with adults. One of the victims was under the age of 6.
And even though the incidents may not have taken place or detectives believe may not have taken place in our county, these images are not only illegal but extremely disturbing.
Disturbing, sickening. We can keep going with that one. The 57-year-old suspect is facing several counts of possessing images of sexual performance by a child.
Well, new details about the child exploitation arrest at a Grady County compound. Investigators say there were no children on the property when they showed up.
But WALB News 10's Mariah Norman spoke with investigators about what they did encounter.
It's what neighbors call the compound, a fenced-off property at the end of Sunset Lane. Behind the main house, RVs, campers, and sheds converted into makeshift homes. When Grady County Police executed the search warrant, they encountered 15 to 20 people living there.
Glass on the ground, there's exposed wires when you walk into a building, just floors that are rotten out there, so it took a while. It took a lot of help.
Investigators got a tip from the Internet Crimes Against Children's Task Force. Police say the men arrested were downloading images and videos of children from the dark web, but Newberry says no children were on the property. Robert Earl Miller and Randy Bernard White face child exploitation charges. The third man, John Clifton Pio, was arrested for drug possession.
Everything worked out like we wanted it to. Nobody got hurt. Everybody that was there complied.
Investigators say the property was a constant problem for neighbors, with frequent calls for disturbances and domestic issues. After last week's search warrant, police officers told me that residents came outside their homes in this neighborhood and lined up across the streets as the police officers were leaving, clapping and thanking them. The sheriff's department says they will continue to protect the community by completing successful investigations like they did in this one. I'm Mariah Norman, WALB, your hometown news source.
A Savannah Chatham County Public School System employee is now accused of grooming a minor and is facing more serious charges just months after his initial arrest. Juwan Johnson, originally charged with grooming a minor by Chatham County Police in October. Now a grand jury has indicted him on 2 additional charges: exploitation of children and solicitation of sodomy of a child under 18. Johnson was a 7th grade social studies teacher at New Hampstead K-8 at the time of his arrest. The indictment alleges that he possessed sexually explicit material involving a minor and used electronic communications to solicit that minor for an act of sodomy in exchange for money.
And a New Lisbon man is being charged with child sex crimes. Corbin Triggs is being charged with the repeated sexual assault of a child as well as enticement. According to that criminal complaint, Triggs had a 13-year-old girl on Snapchat where he then sent naked pictures of himself. He would later sexually assault the girl multiple times over the course of at least 2 months. Triggs' cash bond was set at $25,000. A court date now set for February 23rd.
And now over to Fairfield, Iowa. An Ottumwa man was sentenced Friday in connection to an undercover child grooming sting. This is 33-year-old Randall Dodds. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison for grooming and enticing a minor under 16 for sexual purposes. Police say Dodds contacted an undercover officer that was posing as a 13-year-old girl and sending messages with the intent to engage in sexual acts. According to officers, he sent obscene images to who he believed was that 13-year-old girl and referred to specific acts during the conversation. Dodds must also register as a sex offender for life.
A 40-year-old man from Pottsboro sentenced to 3 99-year prison terms.
K10's Ryan Thorpe has details on who stepped in to make it happen.
40-year-old Christopher Don will spend the rest of his life behind bars.
A lot of these cases are based upon developing relationships.
A Grayson County jury convicted him Wednesday on 4 counts of aggravated sexual assault of a child under 14 and 1 felony count of continuous sexual abuse of a child.
June 17th of 2024, I had a young victim who came forward and said that they were suffering some abuse at the hands of the defendant in this case.
He was sentenced to 3 99-year prison terms plus a $20,000 fine.
I'm very proud of the result that we got.
One key group of people came together to make it happen.
They're so good with these victims.
Child advocates work with victims to gain an understanding of what happened and testify in front of a jury when necessary.
It's hard for them to be able to express exactly what happened to them in front of a group of strangers. It can be very intimidating.
Giving a voice to the victims to tell the jury what happened.
Seeing that child, just her demeanor change from the time this all started until the time the verdict came.
Bringing people like Don to justice.
And this jury, I think, sent a very loud and clear message.
And keeping the county safe.
They know we're coming for you.
In Sherman, Texas, Ryan Thorpe, K10 News.
Just 2 hours ago, St. Louis County Police and prosecutors announced the arrest of the Riverview mayor. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Kelly Jackson.
And I'm Mike Bush. Michael Cornell Jr. is facing multiple charges, including sodomy, child pornography, possession, and harassment. 5 on your side's Laura Barczewski is live in Clayton, outside police headquarters. Laura.
Mike and Kelly, St. Louis County Police say Riverview Mayor Michael Cornell's alleged crimes happened over the period of 10 years to at least 4 victims. Police say 2 of those victims were believed to be juveniles at the time. And detectives started the investigation after a victim came forward in December. You'll remember police were seen searching his home and Riverview City Hall. St. Louis County Prosecutor Melissa Price-Smith says Cornell is now facing 4 counts of second-degree statutory sodomy, 3 counts of sodomy or attempted sodomy, 1 count of harassment, and 1 count of possession of child pornography.
Our detectives work tirelessly for every victim, regardless of whether they're a minor or an adult. However, when we do have victims that are minors, they are truly defenseless. They are truly those that have no one to protect them. And so we do, I hate to say it, but we pay a lot of attention to that, and we take those very, very seriously.
Cornell is being held in the St. Louis County Jail on a $1 million cash-only bond. He is expected in court tomorrow, and police believe there could be possibly more victims, And if you are a victim or you know someone who is, St. Louis County Police wants you to call detectives at 314-615-5400. Reporting in Clayton, Laura Barcheski, 5 on your side.
Hello and welcome to our WIFR live stream. We have some breaking news we'd like to share with you. A 35-year-old Rockford man will spend a total of 210 years in prison. In March 2022, a child told Rockford police she was sexually assaulted by Francisco Correa. The child said she was 10 years old when the abuse happened. He was found guilty in September. Correa was sentenced to 35 years for 6 counts of predatory sexual criminal assault, and they must be served at 85%. Once again, for those who are just joining us here, we do have a bit of some breaking news to share. It's a 35-year-old Rockford man, Francisco Correa. He is going to be serving 210 years after he was found guilty of sexually assaulting a 10-year-old.
Former Sanger ISD school resource officer Israel DeMello booked into the Denton County Jail Wednesday, facing 4 different child sexual assault charges.
He just floated around, kids knew him at pep rallies.
A face Sanger parent Nicole Robles would see all the time at her son's school, Chisholm Trail Elementary.
He's at the desk in the school, greeting you, giving you a pass to walk to the cafeteria to go have lunch with your son, late drop-offs for appointments. He's there in the office.
DeMello has been on administrative leave since November, when the Sanger Police Department says it was made aware of allegations that DeMello sexually assaulted a student in the district. Online jail records show the offense happened in January of 2024. The district didn't reveal what grade the student was in or how long the abuse continued. Robles left wondering if her child was at risk.
I know a lot of parents are feeling this way because a whole handful of us had kids in pre-K and kindergarten dating back to 2024.
Sanger ISD sent parents this email Wednesday notifying them of the arrest. It did not specify the charges against the officer, name him, nor instruct parents to contact authorities if they believed their child may have been a victim.
Stomach drops and you don't know what to do, you don't know what to say. You just feel kind of frozen. And it took me all day to work through these emotions, like, do I go pick my son up from school? Do I continue education here? Do we move?
From Lunenburg, who works for Shrewsbury Public Schools, is facing child pornography charges. Authorities executed a search warrant at Aiden York's home today, and as a result of that search, they took him into custody. In a letter to families, the Shrewsbury superintendent confirmed York worked as an ABA technician at Sherwood Middle School. He also worked at the extended school care program at the Sherwood Beale and Spring Street schools and the summer enrichment and special education extended year programs, and in the Unified Athletics and Social Club at the middle schools. He has now been placed on leave. Police say the investigation is ongoing.
All right, now to the big story.
Down in Louisiana, a Lake Charles man has been taken into custody for alleged sexual battery of a minor. This is Richard M. Coleman, 67-year-old of Lake Charles, and he was arrested and charged with sexual battery of a victim under 13 years old. On September 3rd, the Calcasieu Parish Sheriff's Office detectives there were dispatched to a local hospital in reference to a sexual battery involving a juvenile. I hate to hear when that happens. After a joint investigation between detectives and the Department of Child and Family Services, a warrant was issued for the arrest of Coleman. Coleman was booked into the Calcasieu Parish Jail yesterday with a bond set at $750,000. See ya, Chomo.
County man faces more than 1,000 charges related to possession of child pornography. Police say 69-year-old Stephen Carter Hicks of Williamsport was arrested last October after they received a tip about suspicious activity that traced back to his home. He was initially charged and scheduled to plead guilty to 23 counts, but last week police requested he face more charges based on new evidence. Hicks is currently locked up in Lycoming County Prison.
AI is asking for the public to come forward with any information on a man from Hamburg.
Police and federal agencies are looking for 27-year-old Bernard Bernie Keller. Here is his picture. The U.S. Attorney's Office says Keller was arrested on charges of child pornography. Prosecutors say in March, state police received a report that child porn was shared on the texting app Kik and traced back to him. Investigators then found child porn on his cell phone. We're told it's not the first time he's been caught. Keller was convicted in 2022 for the same thing. Then he was sentenced to probation and placed on the sex offender registry. Now he faces 15 to 30 years in prison. If you have any information on Keller or his whereabouts, contact the FBI at this number, 716-856-7800.
Montgomery now, Alabama lawmakers looking to crack down on sex crimes against children. The legislature is debating a measure that would bring capital punishment for those who harm a child in certain instances. News 19 State Capitol reporter Ryan Hall breaking down now what the state leaders are saying about it.
The Child Predator Death Penalty Act would make sexual torture, rape, and sodomy in the first degree punishable by the death penalty if the victim is less than 12 years old. People convicted of these crimes would also have to serve a minimum of 30 years in prison before being considered for parole. Representative Matt Simpson, bill's sponsor, says it will deter future crimes like those committed in Bibb County.
Our children are the most vulnerable, and when you take the innocence, you take this, there's no recovery for this. This isn't something that, hey, somebody did this and they can be rehabilitated. I don't believe in that at all.
They tell threats to all kinds of people. They can also say, hey, read this, the state of Alabama will put me to death. Some people need to die. And that's the point.
In a war of words, Simpson defended his bill in a committee meeting. Representative Chris England argues the bill is unconstitutional and could deter victims from coming forward if the offender is a loved one.
I just don't think, as a prosecutor, for practical terms, having the death penalty on the table in that situation, even as a possibility, will encourage people who've been victimized.
My questions for the citizens of Alabama, I'm sure they have questions. How much would it cost us to go to Supreme Court and fight this case that's already been ruled unconstitutional?
Still, Representative Simpson says the death penalty would not be mandatory in every case.
And that's up to the prosecutor to make that decision to charge. It's up to the jury to make that decision to convict. It's up to the jury to make the decision if the death penalty is appropriate through that. All of the stuff that you're describing is mitigating factors. But to just say, well, they're going to threaten the child, so that means we're not going to do it, I completely disagree with that line of thought.
Companion bills were taken up in the House and Senate today. The Senate Judiciary Committee carried over the bill, while the House passed it, sending it to the floor. Governor Kay Ivey has expressed her full support of the legislation, calling for swift passage of the bill. In Montgomery, Ryan Hall, News 19.
Moving to southern Indiana, where we've been following another breaking story tonight. A man accused of child sex abuse is dead in Jeffersonville, Indiana. Jeffersonville police were serving a search warrant based on those allegations at the man's residence on Marigold Drive in Jeffersonville. While officers were talking with a woman in the house, a gunshot was heard inside. Police found the man with a gunshot wound. Tonight, Jeffersonville police say he took his own life. The scene remains active as police are still investigating.
Well, about 30 minutes after his release from custody, an accused Lethbridge sex offender was arrested for breaching his release order conditions. Yeah, it just took him a half an hour. This is Sky Atoa, a 50-year-old who faces charges of sexual assault, sexual exploitation, and human trafficking. He was granted bail and released from custody Tuesday afternoon, and he was required to go to a court-ordered residence. However, after he was dropped off, the police said he made no attempt to comply with the requirements and instead went to a store. The police observed the subject in the store's perfume aisle in very close proximity to a young female. Then he was immediately arrested. In addition to the charges he already faces, Atoa has now been charged with a count of failing to comply with release order conditions. He was then put back in custody with no bail until his next court hearing. Atoa had been charged with trafficking of a person under 18, sexual assault of a child under 16, sexual interference, obtaining sexual services of a child for consideration, indecent exposure to a child under 16, sexual counsel of a child, and 3 counts of unlawful confinement. Terrible. These charges were laid after police responded to a report last month that a 14-year-old girl was being held at Lethbridge apartment. When the police responded, a male answered the door and the girl was found inside in medical distress and taken to a hospital. Police arrested the male without incident, and when executing a search warrant, found another 2 girls, a 15 and a 16-year-old, inside his apartment. Disgusting. See ya, Chomo.
The search continues in Virginia for a high school football coach charged with possessing child sexual assault material and using a computer to solicit a minor. Now, while police continue looking for clues about his whereabouts, local families are looking for accountability from the school. Let's go to our breaking news correspondent, Chanel Call, in our CBS newsroom in New York. Chanel, thank you so much for being with us. What can you tell us?
Well, we know that Travis Turner has been missing for almost 2 months now, Liz, and a bit of an update in this case coming to us this week from a local school board meeting. Someone who says, Liz, that they were victimized by Travis Turner has come forward in the form of a letter. That letter, we are now hearing, was actually read aloud by a local resident during a Wise County school board meeting on Monday. This according to the Kingsport Times News. They were there at that meeting, and they are reporting that the letter said, quote, "I felt like I was the problem. I felt like I had embarrassed the school, damaged the reputation of the coaching staff, and disrupted something I was supposed to protect instead of myself." This person also calls themselves, quote, "a victim of exploitation by a teacher in this county." So some explosive testimony coming in the form of this letter today. Turner, we should note, disappeared back in November. You'll remember Virginia State Police, they were investigating him. They were pursuing him about allegations on soliciting a high school student there in Virginia. State Police, we understand, filed 10 charges against him after his disappearance. 5 of those counts are about soliciting a minor via computer. There's also a charge of possession of child pornography, but I should note at this point, authorities have not said whether those charges are about multiple people or one specific victim in this case. Turner is still missing. Police are still searching for him almost 2 months after he first disappeared in Virginia. He left his wife, he left his family. Nobody seems to know where he is right now. And obviously, as you saw during that meeting that happened on Monday, the community is quite upset about this and pretty concerned.
Rightly so. Chanel Call, thank you so much.
Our top story now this half hour, a man in Seguin will likely spend the rest of his life behind bars after being sentenced for sex crimes against 3 children.
Prosecutors say the crimes were brought to light after one of the victims told their mother. KENS 5's Earl Stoudemire joins us live. Earl, who is this? What did he do? What did he have to say in court?
RJ Berry, 58-year-old Michael Farrell is getting 40 years in prison for aggravated sexual assault and indecency with a child. The abuse began for these victims as young as 5 years old and continued over several years. In court, Farrell testified all of the victims were lying, but couldn't explain why they or their family would make up these claims. Farrell was arrested on May 9th of 2022 after one of the victims told their mother Farrell sexually assaulted them multiple times, starting when they were 5 years old when they would visit him. After the first victim spoke out to tell their mother, the victim's sibling also shared they were also abused by Farrell. The mother then confronted Farrell about the allegations and soon called the Comal County Sheriff's Office. In the investigation, deputies learned Farrell had also sexually abused a third relative. Now the victims testified in court about how this abuse happened and how they actually were betrayed by Farrell trusting him as a male figure. Now Farrell, he is going to have to serve those 40 years in prison without parole. Reporting live, Earl Stoudemire, KENS 5.
Today, the Shasta County woman accused of sexually abusing several children will learn how long she'll be behind bars. Ariana Bruner pleaded guilty last month to 9 felony counts of lewd acts on a child under 14. Court records showed the abuse happened to multiple victims between 2021 and 2023. She faces up to 24 years in prison when she's in court today at 2 p.m.
A private school teacher from Sydney's East is behind bars, accused of a plot to sexually assault 2 children. A court this afternoon hearing disturbing allegations of plans to drug and abuse the children, allegedly uncovered in communication between him and another man.
A long-serving Sydney school teacher.
Hi, my name is Peter Adam.
Now charged with sickening child abuse allegations. The 63-year-old, an employee of International Grammar School for 7 years. Young children entrusted to his care.
They should look forward to coming and seeing IGS Hall, never how it has been set out before.
The accused, Peter Adam, telling a court he's a teacher, so would have to resign. Parents and students of IGS have been notified, and it's understood he's been stood down. The former school musical director.
We didn't know what the voices sounded like together, so when we first could put them together and they could all be singing and dancing together, that's been the highlight so far.
Was arrested at his Bondi home yesterday, accused of inciting to commit aggravated sexual assault in company and using a carriage service to solicit child abuse material. He's been on the police radar since his co-accused, 35-year-old Todd Soulis, was arrested in September last year, and 3 mobile phones were seized from a Randwick home. Authorities claim they discovered a year-long text chain between the pair, plotting the alleged sexual assault of 2 children known to the teacher. A court heard what's been described as an abhorrent and concerning set of facts, some of the allegations too disturbing to share. Among the claims, an alleged plot to drug, sexually assault and pimp out children. He was denied bail. The magistrate saying the facts of the case are exceedingly strong against him and the allegations are some of the worst cases of abuse that could happen to children or anybody. Olivia Blunden, 10 News.
Lewisburg, West Virginia. A registered sex offender in Greenbrier County is back in jail facing charges tied to child sexual abuse material. The Greenbrier County Sheriff, Bart Parker, said his deputies this week arrested Robert Dean Schaefer II, a 55-year-old of Rupert, West Virginia. Deputies were led to Schaefer following an investigation by the Internet Crimes Against Children's Task Force. The investigation revealed evidence Schaefer had solicited, acquired, distributed, as well as possessed very large amounts of child sexual abuse material for an extended period of time. Schaefer was arraigned in Greenbrier County Magistrate's Court, and his bond was set at $100,000 cash only. He's lodged in the Southern Regional Jail. Schaefer was already on parole when he was arrested, and he's also charged with a violation of his parole, and now has no bond. Sheriff Baker he said that he'll likely face additional charges related to this investigation as more and more victims are coming out of the woodwork.
At 5 o'clock, we're learning about a Tarrant County juvenile probation officer who is accused of sexually assaulting a child. Jail records right now show Alexandria Venable was arrested on Monday on charges of aggravated assault of a child and also sexual contact with a juvenile inside a state juvenile justice department facility. The Tarrant County Sheriff's Department continues to investigate. Venable is in jail. We checked tonight on a $100,000 bond. We have asked if she is still employed, but so far we have not received an answer on that question.
Spanish Fort's police chief speaking up about a story Fox 10 News broke last night. A longtime wanted fugitive is in custody near Raleigh, North Carolina.
Police are calling Brenton Fillers the TikTok trickster. The chief says he's concerned Fillers might disappear again.
Now Brendan Kirby explains why.
Brenton Wayne Fillers is being held in the Wake County Detention Center in North Carolina under his real name. But Spanish Fort Police Chief John Barber says the so-called TikTok trickster has used dozens of aliases over the years in a half-dozen states. Police say Fillers used social media platforms to target and manipulate victims, often women he met online. In Baldwin County, Fillers stands accused of stealing a car from a woman whose trust and affection he gained through social media. Court records in Wake County show that Fillers had a $50,000 bond that was later reduced to $15,000. Chief Barber says he doesn't understand why Fillers has a bond at all.
We're very perplexed because that's not something that we've ever seen, nothing I've ever dealt with in my law enforcement career.
Chief Barber says he has no doubt that the 56-year-old Texas native will bolt if he makes bond.
He's going to hit the streets. He's not coming to court. He's shown that throughout his, life that he's going to hide, change his name, change his identity.
Fillers has been on the Spanish Fort Police Department's radar since 2023 when investigators say he targeted a local woman. They issued a warrant for his arrest. Law enforcement officers arrested him in Tennessee in 2024 and sent him to Texas to face a child sexual assault charge. But Chief Barber says that case fell apart, and rather than send Fillers to Baldwin County, Texas officials let him go.
He is a career criminal that somehow has survived 30-something years of criminal behavior, and he always seems to slip through the cracks. In this case, he was able to get out before we could put a hold on him, trying to extradite him to Alabama to face at least our charge.
Chief Barber says Fillers stayed on the run until this month when the department got a message through Facebook from a woman reporting that Fillers was living in Cary, North Carolina under the name Brendan Phillips.
She provides the name that he was going under at that time, so his 34th alias.
Chief Barber tells me that a month or two after Fillers got out of jail the last time, he received a surprise call. It was Fillers, claiming that the allegations were untrue and that the chief was slandering his good name.
So it was interesting because I had an interaction with him. Slick talker, real slick.
The North Carolina court file indicates that Fillers is opposing extradition to Alabama. Fox 10 News contacted the district attorney's office in Wake County to try and find out if that's typical for someone arrested on a fugitive warrant to get a bond. But the office hasn't responded yet. Reporting from Spanish Fort, Brendan Kirby, Fox 10 News.
Another update from court. In April, trial date now set for a teacher from a local elementary school suspected of possessing child pornography. Daniel Maniv Viruet arrested at his home in Hillsborough County in October. He was a resource teacher at Manatee Elementary School in Bradenton. He is currently on administrative leave. Now, it's important to note that Viruet was only working in Manatee County. The charges are coming out of Hillsborough County. In addition to child porn allegations, he is charged with possession of an image involving sexual activity with an animal. His trial is scheduled to begin in April in Hillsborough County.
New at 5, Fox 10 News is asking questions after a grand jury indicted 3 people on sex crimes against children.
Our Shelby Myers in the studio now. And Shelby, what are you finding out?
Well, Cameron Lanise, the indictments accused 2 men and a woman of sodomy of a child under 12 years old. Jeremy Dugas and Billy Johnson are also facing a sexual abuse charge of a child under 12. Lydia Smith faces the sodomy charge. We're told DHR got involved and contacted Sims police since the alleged crime happened in their jurisdiction. Jail records show Sims PD arrested 2 of the 3 suspects. The Mobile County Sheriff's Office arrested the 3rd. The crimes, according to the indictment, happened in 2021 and 2022. The victim came forward last year, we're told. A Mobile County District Attorney spokesperson says the 3 suspects knew each other. Dugas and Johnson were given $90,000 bond. Smith has a $60,000 bond. All 3 suspects are still in jail at last check. Authorities are not releasing a lot of details, but prosecutors say more will come out as this case moves through the court and more arrests are possible. Of course, we will continue to keep you updated as soon as we learn new information in this case. In the studio, Shelby Myers, Fox 10 News.
Wichita, Kansas. A convicted sex offender was sentenced to life in prison last Friday. District Judge Christopher Magana sentenced Daniel Withrow, a 43-year-old Chomo of Wichita, to life for kidnapping and attempted aggravated indecent liberties with a child. The charges stem from a May 2019 incident where an 8-year-old girl told an officer that Withrow took her into a shed against her will, and after being violently assaulted, the girl was able to get away. Withrow will be eligible for parole in about 46 years. Well, hopefully he'll be long gone by then. See ya, Chomo.
The superintendent of the White Pass School District now arrested on suspicion of child porn. We brought this to you as breaking news this morning. The Longview Police Department says 52-year-old Gregory Teal from Kelso was taken into custody yesterday for alleged possession and distribution of child porn online. Police say there's no evidence showing any students within the district were involved, but the district itself sent out a message to parents saying they had no idea he was arrested until the police department announced it on social media. The district claims it still has not been contacted by law enforcement, saying, quote, "We are in the same position of all of you who are reading this. We do not have details and we have little information. We want answers too."
A former Maywood Public Schools physical education teacher and coach has been sentenced for sexually abusing and intentionally harming students. Nicholas High was convicted on multiple counts of third-degree sexual abuse by a school employee and intentional child abuse. He received 90 days in jail, 5 years of probation, and a $7,500 fine. According to court documents, High engaged in sexual contact with students over multiple years. He was arrested in November of 2024.
We'll head over to Cook County, Illinois. A convicted sex offender who was charged in a sheriff's police investigation with possession of child sexual abuse material pled guilty today and was sentenced to 15 years in prison. Investigators with the Sheriff's Police Internet Crimes Against Children Unit arrested Jason Jeffries, a 41-year-old chomo of Chicago, in October of last year. At the time, Jeffries was already on parole for a 2017 conviction and was a registered sex offender even at that time because he was previously convicted of aggravated sexual abuse of a minor back in 2001 in Will County. ICAC investigators had received a tip from the Illinois Department of Corrections, which was overseeing his parole, and they took him into custody after they determined that he had downloaded and stored several videos on a media memory card that contained, of course, CSAM of children under the age of 13. Jeffries pleaded guilty and was ordered to serve his 15-year sentence in the Illinois Department of Corrections. See ya, chomo.
Say, excuse me, Judge, how many times do I need to show these videos until people become aware?
Multiple times.
Happy birthday, dear Ellie.
Now, Ellie, remember, this is our special secret.
Okay, Uncle Jim.
1 in 5 children is sexually abused before they turn 18.
Make a wish, but remember, it's a secret.
Do you know the signs?
I just want everyone to go home.
Learn more about the risks of child sexual abuse at sapria.org.
One for a rainbow, one for Amanda. Who you playing with, sweetie? Amanda. Oh, who are you?
I'm Amanda. I'm 6, and I love unicorns.
Sexual predators are seeking kids online.
We don't know Amanda.
Learn how to report abuse at end-violence.org/protect.